This year, Resident Evil celebrates its 30th anniversary. What started off as a small and quaint horror game from 1996 is now a massive global phenomenon and one of my personal favorite franchises ever. So of course, I had to talk about the newest title, Resident Evil 9 Requiem. I was ecstatic for this game. I was excited to see this new protagonist's whole deal, and just imagine my excitement when they announced Leon S. Kennedy would share the spotlight with Grace. This game seemed like it was going to combine all the elements from previous entries that worked, giving us a combination of survival and action gameplay, hell, even adding the ability to switch from first to third person. In preparation for Requiem's release, I just got done marathoning all the mainline entries, including the remakes. It was fun seeing how each game built upon each other, and I really felt like I got to fill my RE bingo card a little more. Here's the tier list, by the way. I found out some games were better than I expected, and I also discovered that I never want to touch these 3 games ever again. Yeah, after suffering through those, I was a little worried for Leon's sections in this game, but they said they would base the 2 styles on the remakes for 2 and 4, 2 games I think excel in their respective genres, which did ease my mind a little bit. Anyway, enough rambling, it's time to play. Without further ado, here's Resident Evil 9 Requiem. Now, I apologize in advance, but this video is going to be a little disjointed. First, I'll talk about all of Grace's stuff, then Leon's, and then the story at the end. If I talked about everything in order, I think the pacing would be way off, so let's just get into it. For this video, I pre-ordered the PS5 version of the game. I got the standard edition. I didn't really care for the extra stuff added in the digital deluxe, just a couple costumes. Just thought I'd mention that. Now, upon booting up the game and configure the graphics settings, we get to choose the difficulty. There's casual, which is easy, and 2 standard modes, modern and classic. And right off the bat, classic mode has ink ribbons, baby! Yeah, classic mode it is. I sure hope I'm not gonna regret this decision. Like the other modern mainline RE games that aren't remakes, this game has a pretty normal start. We're at the FBI. There's been a series of strange deaths occurring, all linked to an odd new disease. And we're introduced to one of the many reasons I was hyped for this game, a brand new main character, Grace Ashcroft. Just in this opening alone, we get a great read on her character. She's smart, but very timid and scared. Even before she enters the world of survival horror, it takes a lot from her to show her FBI badge to a normal cop. I'll be honest, I've grown quite attached to Grace. I relate to her a lot. I've only had Grace Ashcroft for a day, but if anything happens to her, I would kill everyone in this room, including myself. Grace's story starts when she's tasked to return to the Wrenwood Hotel for the investigation, the place where her mother, Alyssa Ashcroft, unfortunately died. I know I said I did a mainline retrospective for this video, meaning I kinda skipped out on Resident Evil Outbreak, which is the game Alyssa is from. Don't count on me giving it a try though, since I have no interest in doing so. Sorry. Anyway, now we're free to start playing, walking through the sidewalk of this bustling city area, which lasts like 1 minute. As pretty as this small city section is, I don't really feel like it needed to be in the game because, well, this game takes a little bit to properly open. I get that it's the case with something like RE7, but I don't know, this one feels a little longer. So I don't think anyone would mind if I just skim through this opening a little bit, right? We eventually make it to the hotel, and it's definitely seen better days. We do some light puzzle work and find a photo of Grace here. How peculiar. Oh. Well, somebody's got a fan. This takes us to a flashback with young Grace and her mother, Alyssa. Alyssa hid something behind the painting, calls Grace her hope, and... Oh, I knew Alyssa was already dead during the plot, but I mean, that's one way to do it. Back to the present, we're introduced to our first zombie, meet our main villain, get kidnapped, and we finally get to play the game in the first area, the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center. I told you I'd blitz through the opening. It took like an hour to get here, Jesus. This first section over here, man, it gave me chills. Before we get into the normal gameplay loop, the care center serves as a mini prelude to Grace's side of the story. There's no enemies, just a couple of puzzles to do alongside our new friend. This hag is the persistent stalker enemy for this game. She can drop from the ceiling, disappear at a moment's notice, and most notably, she's very, very hungry. As we try to get a wrench to open the fuse box, we're taught how to evade the monster or trick it by throwing empty bottles. When the hag is on screen, you need to crouch behind things and hide from it, kind of like the Sherry stealth scene from RE2R, but, you know, actually good. The hag is also allergic to any form of light, so flicking light switches is a good way to tell her to fuck off. It's also the canonical reason why she can't enter safe rooms, which is pretty neat. Other stalkers like Mr. X didn't need a canon reason, but, you know, it's nice they gave one. Eventually, we make it to the main hall, and the game properly starts, so let's talk about Grace's gameplay. As much as I loved Resident Evil 7 and 8, they weren't exactly what I was looking for in a modern RE game. I much preferred how the remakes handled things, except for you. So I'm very happy to say that Grace's campaign is pretty much just Resident Evil 2 Remake with elements of 7, 8, and even 4 surprisingly. As you can see, I'm playing the game in third person. Apparently Grace's campaign is meant to be first person more so than third, but I have my reasons for picking this perspective. A, I'm a pussy. B, I don't mind first person, but if third person is an option, I'm definitely picking it. And C, I don't want to miss out on looking at this cutie. I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I really the only one who played like this? All of my friends played in first person, except for Battle. Shoutouts to Battle! My only issue with this perspective is the running speed. Compared to Leon's running from Resident Evil 2 and 4 and Jill's in Steaming Pile of Dog Shit the video game, Grace's running feels kinda slow by comparison. Apparently this isn't noticeable in first person, but that mode has its own caveat, that being the lack of an FOV slider. And while we're shitting on this game, the default camera controls are extremely slow. Messing with the sensitivity did rectify this, and I'm glad this game has so many options, but goddamn. Besides that though, I am having so much fun. Grace has a limited inventory that can expand with hip pouches, defensive knives, not enough ammo to deal with every enemy encounter, safe rooms with typewriters and item boxes, a crafting system, green herbs, all the elements we know and love. There's also plenty of new additions to spice up the gameplay, making for a unique experience overall. Grace starts off with 2 weapons, the usual starter pistol and the Requiem, a magnum gun the size of this girl's forearm. Jesus fucking Christ. This thing packs quite a punch, which is very useful for getting out of sticky situations, especially if the hag is involved. Something I definitely didn't see coming was giving her an RE4 style melee move when shooting the zombies. It's nowhere near as powerful as when Leon does it, but it's surprisingly fitting in this playstyle and it's useful as all hell. Grace also has access to this blood collector device, which you can fill up by pools of blood scattered throughout the game. Blood serves as Grace's main crafting material. She can craft health injectors, steroids, ammo, even the popping zombies like pimples juice. Hemolytic injectors immediately eviscerate any zombie, which is funny to use when you sneak up on them, but very important to this game because our good old friends, the Crimson Heads, are back to play. A feature from Resident Evil 1 Remake, Crimson Heads, or in this game Blister Heads, are a mutation zombies go through when they're down for too long, unless you blew up their head. I never really encountered them as Grace, so I guess I must be doing something right. I don't know. Speaking of the zombies, I adore this game's unique take on them. They look very disturbing with their bloodshot eyes and somewhat saddened expression. They move very sporadic and jittery, and they also cling on to their former lives, so each enemy is doing their job in a way. There's a butcher zombie, a cleaning maid zombie, opera singer zombies, doctor zombies.
So what the fuck is that?
It's a very goofy yet tragic idea, and I'm all here for it. You can also use their behavior to your advantage, like manipulating the sound-sensitive mental patient zombies to dispose of other enemies without wasting ammo. The enemies aren't just obstacles in this game, but puzzles in their own way, which is super unique. I really like it. In general, I'm just glad we're back to having zombies as our standard enemy after dealing with werewolves and those disgusting mold boys from 7.
You know, there's like one small thing I wish they did with Grace. I wish it was like RE7 where you can't just like enter your inventory and the game's paused. Now that may sound a little bit harsh, but I think it would make more sense. Just like in RE7, when you check the inventory, you don't do that. It's like real time. I just think it keeps more in line with the horror of RE of like Grace's campaign. You know what I mean?
As for the locations in Grace's campaign, the care center is super evocative of the Spencer Mansion or the Raccoon City Police Department, level design wise. It's got a main hall area with regal architecture, with most of the evil being found on the far east and west of the residence. I think Resident Evil 2 Remake might have better level design overall on account of it being bigger, but the care center isn't too bad. I don't know if anyone feels the same way, but this section made me feel like I was playing a spiritual remake of RE1. Hopefully this makes people shut up about wanting an RE Engine RE1 remake, since the 2002 remake is perfectly fine. Puzzle-wise, there's some neat stuff to do, like this organless corpse puzzle. In the garage, there's an organ transport box needed to advance forward, but not before a funny bulldozer set piece. After finding a document on how to open it, we get to place artificial organs in this corpse for a keycard. There's also puzzle boxes that call back to RE1 symboled hexagons, and also a handful of useful items found in the parlor obtained by collecting antique coins, a feature lifted from RE7. After the care center, this mechanic doesn't come back, which is kind of a shame, I won't lie. But I guess it makes sense that this area is so generous on them. Below the care center is the second area, the basement. The hag was absent from the former, but this area acts as her nest of sorts, meaning you have to keep an eye out for her in addition to all the puzzle solving and zombie evading. As you can imagine, this makes this area noticeably harder than the care center, especially in classic mode. The main objective is to find 3 joint plugs to activate the elevator, and some doors will require these to open. Using the joint plugs will also switch the lights on, which helps get rid of that ugly ass hag. Sorry man, you freak me out. The last door that leads us to a joint plug requires 2 of them to open. We find a forklift key to clear up some paths, fight for our goddamn life in the meat grinder, like Jesus man, what the fuck? And that's basically it for the basement, and by extension Grace's campaign as a whole. There's still more stuff after this, but it's mostly just lame scripted sequences and a pretty alright fight against the hag where you need to turn the power back on to this bunker so you can turn on all the lights. Rest in piss, bozo.
Already.
So yeah, all in all, Grace's section was awesome. The locations were interesting, the gameplay was nice and scarce, and again, it was pretty much exactly what I was hoping for. I do think it's a little short though. I would have loved to play more in this style, at least maybe another large area to explore in the care center. This game is about 10 hours long, and since we also play as Leon in the same campaign, each character gets about 5 hours to shine, which isn't a lot. I still kinda like the unified campaign for reasons I'll get to a little later, but I do think the game probably would have benefited if each character had their own separate A/B scenario or something. Regardless though, after this, Grace takes a backseat in favor of all the Leon stuff, save for one more section at the end. But before that, let's talk about the presentation. This game is absolutely stunning, to no one's surprise. The RE engine never fails to deliver on the visual department. The locations in the first half are beautifully atmospheric, and a small detail I like is that they seemingly took RE4R's yellow paint critique to heart, replacing them with small yellow labels on boxes. It still makes it clear that it's breakable for goodies, but not in an annoying way. Things that used to look a little iffy in past entries like hair strands or facial animations are a thing of the past. In particular, I really like the voice acting, especially from Grace. Angela Santalbano's performance is perfect, making Grace a lovable, realistic scaredy cat. Seriously, I don't think I've ever seen a Resident Evil character have a panic attack before.
The police are on their way. Oh my god. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
Grace. Grace, look at me. Grab my hands.
If she doesn't win Best Performance at the Game Awards, it'll be another reason to hate Jeff's popularity contest. Nick Apostolides also does an amazing job as an older Leon. I adore hearing how much his voice performance evolved alongside Leon since 2019.
I want to find out what's happening here and stop whoever's behind it. Helping people like them? That's why I joined the force.
It's okay to be afraid, you know. But you can't run. You gotta keep moving forward. We will beat this. Together.
Raccoon City was where it all began for me. When it all happened, I couldn't... couldn't make a difference. So I'm here now.
Though, I gotta say, one voice I can't take seriously is from the new villain, Victor Gideon. He sounds...
There's no escaping your destiny. I've done it. I've done it.
Well, he definitely sounds unique. His funny voice along with his design and surprising height made me interested to see what his whole deal was, but... We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Besides that, the performance of this game itself is pretty good, except for one funny glitch where Leon's gun straps forgot what physics are.
Oh, I had the same glitch. The physics simulation broke for the strap. It's also the same for the rifle.
Speaking of Leon, let's talk about him now. Yay! Good old quipping and kicking Leon S. Kennedy. Leon sections are an evolution of the over-the-shoulder action shooter gameplay from Resident Evil 4 Remake with a few differences to make it, well, different. The first and most notable one being the hatchet replacing his trusty knife. Like the RE4 knives, the hatchet is your melee weapon that can parry attacks and perform stylish finisher moves, except it's understandably heavier and you can sharpen it after it breaks. This would normally make it overpowered if not for the dozens and dozens of enemies you need to fight in a single encounter. You can still do his traditional kick after downing a zombie, but more often than not, the game wants you to use the hatchet to paint the whole room red. I don't think I'm allowed to show this much gore on YouTube. Leon also earns credits for each kill, which can be redeemed at these item boxes where you can spend them to upgrade your weapons, sell them, or buy new ones. This shit honestly makes me sick. The merchant lost his job to AI. There's also one feature that I'm not really sure I'm fond of. In this game, Leon can also subscribe to my Patreon to get cool perks like getting to see his name on the end screen, the ability to vote in art polls, watching videos early, and even a $10 tier where I can say his name at the end. That definitely didn't need to go in the game. Anyway, Leon is honestly such a beast here. During the first half, he's merely a small reward for getting through your time as Grace, which feels pretty satisfying. Oh, what's that? You still have PTSD from Dr. Salvador? Well, now you can pick up the chainsaw and go full Ash Williams on these evil residents. You don't like that disgusting baby man? Here's a shotgun. You're welcome. Am I playing God of War? Speaking of the bosses, Leon is the only character who really has them, unfortunately, and they're all pretty easy and last shorter than I'd like. I think the actual gameplay in Leon's portion is great, but the game's pacing kinda does it a disservice, so I still think I prefer Resident Evil 4 Remake over this. However, I have a lot, and I mean a lot, of gripes when it comes to Leon's story, but we'll get to that after Grace's side of things. Grace's story isn't anything mind-blowing, but it's simple and cute. They spend a decent amount of time setting up the loss of her mother and Grace having survivor's guilt over the whole thing. Back when she was a kid, she couldn't do anything to save her mother, but in the care center, she meets this little girl, Emily. As you can see, these two both have white hair. I wonder why. Emily was experimented on for reasons we'll get into later, and as such, she's blind. Grace and Emily have a decent dynamic going on, with Grace stressing out trying to save this aloof and confused little girl, and before leaving the care center, there's a puzzle box with Braille replacing the symbols, so Grace needs Emily to help.
You think you can read it? I can try. It's like a giant puzzle box.
This part kind of makes no sense to me, because Grace is from the FBI. She could have just figured it out on her own, but that's really the only story hiccup here. Afterward, Emily is kidnapped by the hag leading into the basement section, and we have to turn the power back on to free Emily. After we try and fail to escape via helicopter, Emily is badly injured, so she stays behind while Grace pushes on. By the end of the Grace section, she's grown a little more confident and she's ready to take the hag down, and it's pretty satisfying when that thing melts into a cheese pizza. But then, tragedy strikes. Emily suddenly mutates into a horrifying beast, and we have this small bit where Leon is forced to put her down, and I actually felt like a horrible person when I did this. It was pretty effective. Grace understandably isn't happy about this, giving Leon the Requiem Magnum back before departing.
No.
Grace.
And then she meets Zeno. Zeno is a brand new antagonist who shows up here and tells Grace to come with her to see her destiny. Zeno does literally nothing in this game. We don't even know his backstory, but we can obviously tell what it is. Now, as you can see from his sunglasses, his ability to regenerate lost limbs and teleport, and his voice,
Mr. Kennedy, I had a feeling you'd make an appearance.
he is a genetic clone of Albert Wesker. On one hand, I get it. They marketed this game to be the conclusion to the Raccoon City tragedy, so I kinda expected them to retcon either Wesker or Oswell Spencer's death. But this just seems like a lazy writing choice and a botched attempt at nostalgia pandering. I mean, if you want to bring Wesker back, then bring Wesker back. Don't give us Timu Wesker. Wesker was cool as fuck. He had aura. He liked girl penis.
Can I see your cock?
But Zeno is just so unnecessary. Every time I think of him, I can't help but laugh. But I'm getting too ahead of myself. The villains definitely are really badly handled, but in order to get to that, we need to discuss Leon's story, or rather rant about how fucking stupid it is. It turns out that this odd new disease Grace was researching is actually from our old friend, the T-virus, or rather a mutated strand of it that's been dormant for 30 years. Survivors of the Raccoon City bombing have been dying from the T-virus, and Leon is here to find a cure along with Sherry Birkin, because they are, in fact, also infected. And this is where I can talk about my first problem, the lack of returning legacy characters. If survivors of Raccoon City are dying, well, where the hell is everyone? Are they just dead? Leon and Sherry talk about the events of RE2 quite a bit in this game, so where the hell is Claire? You know, the lady who literally rescued Sherry from all of this shit? The co-lead of Resident Evil 2? What about Jill, or Leon's wife? Where's my goat, Barry Burton?
You would have fit nicely into a sandwich.
Hell, Sherry doesn't even do anything noteworthy in this game. You could have replaced her with Hunnigan and the story would stay exactly the same. Hell, when Leon finds the cure, Sherry doesn't even get cured on screen. They kind of just brush it to the side. Again, if you wanted this game to be the end of the Raccoon City tragedy, I feel like some more familiar faces needed to come back. They could always maybe make some DLC campaigns to fix this problem, but in the base game, wow. Just wow. Anyway, Leon sees Victor Gideon kidnap Grace, Victor infects people on the street, and Leon skedaddles his way to the care center. In the first half, Leon doesn't really do much, but I did notice a parallel with RE4's first act where Leon is grabbed by the throat and the big bad gray guy realizes he's infected. I see you, Capcom. I'm also a fan of that one sniper segment where he acts as Grace's guardian angel, basically. He kinda has a similar role Ada does in RE4. Afterward, we have a combat section in this burning building, which is very cool, and this isn't a bad thing, but am I the only one who's getting Last of Us vibes from these enemy designs? Blisterheads kinda look like clickers, and I mean, that's literally just a bloater. It's pretty funny. After Grace goes with the villains to see her destiny, Leon follows them to the place that started it all, Raccoon City. After the bomb, it's become a shell of its former self. Without the Umbrella Corporation, this was just a sleepy town with normal people living their lives. It's very cool revisiting areas I remember, now in a post-apocalyptic reskin. However, Raccoon City does look a little boring compared to the rest of the game. Setting it in broad daylight removes any atmosphere or aura of the first half. At least make it nighttime or stormy or something. I get they couldn't do much to make an Oppenheimered city look interesting, but I don't know, it's still a shame. It's also not all that engaging when it comes to the level design or pacing. I don't think it was necessary to spend so much time here. We all know he's gonna go back to the RPD. Let's just get on with it. It doesn't help that this game doesn't have good enemy variety, since most of the time it's the same zombies with just a couple other new ones. It's a shame too, since the care center put so much thought and personality into the enemies there. Now there's also infected BSAA troops for some reason. I honestly don't give a fuck about the BSAA or why they're here. I never have and I never will. I just know that the military zombies are genuinely not fun to fight. Some of them have machine guns and it does a lot of damage. I sure hope there aren't any more enemies with guns, because that would get really annoying. To the game's credit, Raccoon City does have some memorable combat encounters and set pieces. Like, I enjoyed the return of the Black Tiger from RE1, despite how hard of a time the spiders gave me back in the game. These guys can be pretty tough, so you have to... Nope, no, not again. That wasn't nearly as stressful as last time. I should probably save before heading back out there. So as I was saying, this boss can be a pretty tough one since it has some pretty powerful attacks and... Okay, maybe there's still some green herbs upstairs that'll help me. Just as I thought. There's also this badass chainsaw showdown at the gas station, this one combat encounter where you need to be wary of the breakable glass, and the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen.
What the fuck kind of game am I even playing right now?
Honestly, this shit is goofier than the big robot fight from 8. I could not stop laughing here. I'm on board for this. Honestly, fuck Raccoon City. We should have just skipped over to this shit. It's awesome.
Should've worn a helmet.
Of course, we're finally back in the Raccoon City Police Department after 30 years. There's some spicy fan service I did enjoy, like the Welcome Leon sign, revisiting the STARS office, and they even remixed the original RPD theme song and the Save Room theme from RE2. It's crazy how Requiem did more justice to the original Resident Evil 2 soundtrack than its own remake. However, Leon returning to the RPD is kind of what shows his side story in this game, and it fucking sucks. He spends so much time feeling regret over not being able to save anyone in RE2, lamenting the loss of characters like Marvin or Kendo. Hey Capcom, we already fucking did this in Resident Evil 4. Why the fuck is this man still sad about his previous inability to be a hero when he literally rescued the president's daughter and saved the world back in 2005? This leads me to believe that you can't do much more with his character, which makes me worried for the future of this series. Leon Prince Money. He's the coolest, sexiest, and most interesting character in the series, but if they keep bringing this man back and giving him the same character arc over and over again, I think I want off of this ride. It's not fun anymore. If he was replaced with Jill Valentine, it probably would have been a noticeable improvement. It would still be the same subplot from RE4, but at least it would be with a different character. So there's a cutscene with Grace. Emily was a clone of Grace, basically. Don't bother correcting me. I know that's not literally the case, but you know. Zeno needs Grace to release Oswell Spencer's last project, Elpis, believing it to be a mind control virus based on incomplete research. I wish I was joking. Oh, and look, we have the RE2 Sherry stealth section back, even though literally no one liked it. The whole clone situation was already explained to us in the same cutscene. We really didn't need this part to be in the game. Grace starts to have a panic attack over this revelation, showing off more of her brilliant acting, so I can't complain too much.
So it really was all my fault.
What was?
That mom was murdered and... Oh God, when she turned into that thing.
What's done is done. You need to focus on the future.
Was she even really my mother?
It's time to embrace your destiny.
She then passes out, Leon shows up, and we're greeted by a familiar face. Listen, dude, I know this is just fan service and it makes no sense for them to recreate the same tyrant from RE2, but it's just so fucking cool, man. I did not expect there to be a Mr. X boss fight, but I'm so glad for its inclusion. I remember when Leon couldn't do anything but run from this guy, and now he's giving Mr. X a nice forehead piercing. I was actually getting a little giddy when he started chasing me down the halls again. It was just like old times. And despite me bitching about Leon's survivor's guilt, it just felt right to defeat Mr. X using Kendo's shotgun. I do think the boss could have been harder or longer, but it's still a fun time overall. Through the orphanage, we go underground and fight another short boss against a legacy icon that's not as notable as Mr. X, but it's still a cool callback, Lant 43 from Resident Evil 2. It's cool that they turned it into a boss, since in the original you kinda just spray it with a weed killer and move on. I like the boss despite the short length, but we can just move on from now. Leon makes it to one of Umbrella's underground facilities, the Ark, where he locates Grace in the Pandora chamber. Before he can go rescue her though, we get the stupidest fucking combat section in the entire game. We're introduced to human enemies that you need to stealth around. If you aren't properly hiding behind the waist-high walls, they will kill you in like 3 quick hits. I felt like I was playing Uncharted, but worse. Because at least in the Uncharted games, Nathan will snap to the nearest wall to hide behind so he can properly protect himself. The enemies also aren't as mobile, and his health regenerates after a moment of inactivity to compensate for the dozens of times you'll likely get shot. But in Resident Evil 9, this section with the elite guards made me so angry that I rage quit. Go ahead and say skill issue or whatever. I don't care. I hate this part. I hope they add a feature that lets me replay all of Grace's sections so I can just throw Leon in the dumpster for the replays. After this, Leon makes it to Pandora. His infection gets much worse as he starts coughing up blood on the floor. Grace reveals she's a Persona 3 fan, and the two of them make their escape. In order to clear a path for Leon and stop Xeno, we actually switch back to Grace and explore the Ark for a decent chunk of time. After fighting the elite guard, I'm actually happy to go through the traditional secret underground laboratory at the end of the game. The game throws another fan service flashbang at us, the Lickers. This is actually an instance where the fan service feels natural. Not only did we previously establish Grace's stealthier sections, but the Lickers add a new element to that since they're blind. We also get to craft Molotov cocktails and acid containers to defeat them if we're surrounded, which is pretty neat. I especially love that one part where you go back to an empty hallway and the Lickers burst through the glass to startle you, and you need to figure out how you're gonna wiggle around them without stepping on the glass. Man, this game really needed more Grace. Her sections are legit peak Resident Evil content. But at the end of the day, this is all soured by what happens when we reach the home stretch. Grace finds a big computer console with pictures of her on it. When she digs deeper, we see an old video of Alyssa Ashcroft doing an interview with Oswell Spencer himself. Apparently, Spencer's last project, Elpis, is not a mind control virus. Shocker, I know. It's actually an antiviral agent, a cure. Spencer actually regrets his time with Umbrella, and we find out Grace isn't actually Alyssa's child, but Spencer's adopted child he gave to Alyssa?
She was alone in the world. I took her in to make amends. Is she perfectly normal? Just an average child needing a home.
This is bullshit. This is bullshit, straight up. This retcon makes absolutely no sense. You can't just randomly decide to humanize one of the most evil characters in the entire series. Spencer was the devil. He loved eugenics. He was doing it for the love of the sport. As you all know, one of my favorite games in the series is the 2002 remake of the first game. Not only for its unmatched vibes, gameplay improvements, expanded areas, and a great understanding of what made the original a masterpiece, but it also strengthened the narrative. Lisa Trevor wasn't in the original game, but her backstory is quite literally a direct result of Spencer's shittiness. I won't repeat myself too much, but George Trevor died in a ditch hiding from Spencer, Jessica died a slow and painful death being a test subject for the progenitor virus, and Lisa successfully bonded with it, so they tortured her for 50 years. It's a heartbreaking tale, and if that somehow isn't enough proof that Spencer was an evil, greedy old man with a god complex, what the fuck about his final words in Resident Evil 5?
I was to become a god. creating a new world with an advanced race of human beings. Ironic, isn't it? For one who has the right to be a god. To face his own mortality.
I saw some people trying to say that Spencer was lying and he only made Elpis to be greedy, but it just feels like some of you are coping. That's simply not what the story tells us, since he keeps calling Grace his hope or whatever. I just want to finish already. After that, we get one last Leon combat section where he fights Lickers, so now we're at the end of the road. Like Resident Evil 7, we get to make a choice. Free Elpis or destroy it. Destroying it gives us the bad ending. The facility starts to fall apart, Grace gets to escape, and Zeno kills Leon in a way that would make fans furious if this was canon. This is like Joel Miller tiers of disrespectful. After the credits, the game allows us to go back and choose the other option, which is really weird. If you're gonna make me choose, why would you just tell me, nuh-uh, wrong answer at the end? Resident Evil 7's choice was also stupid as fuck, but at least you got to stick with your decision and keep playing. So the true ending is when Elpis is set free, which just makes Zeno look like a fucking idiot. I know Victor Gideon mentioned the research was incomplete or something, but genuinely, how the fuck do you look at the name Project Elpis and not assume it's probably named after the Greek goddess of hope, the only good thing to come out of Pandora's box? Oh yeah, I bet you forgot about Victor until I brought him up again. These two villains are so fucking funny. They're lame as hell, they don't do anything in the plot, and when they do, it's usually stupid. We don't even get to fight Zeno, he just dies. He injects himself with Elpis thinking it would give him a buff, but it just takes his powers away.
I'm not sure Elpis is what you think it is.
I'm speechless. It's so dumb. I have my gripes with 7 and 8 stories, but it doesn't extend beyond shit like Chris should have told Ethan why he shot his wife. So now Leon's cured of his ligma, he gets to fight Victor Sullivan as the final boss, and it's actually the best boss in the entire game, but that's not a very high bar. He moves around a lot, throws electric projectiles at us, and he's got plenty of parryable attacks. The second phase, on the other hand, is kind of just the final boss from Resident Evil 3 remake. Leon even remarks that it's a nemesis parasite. Well, all the more reasons this story would be better with Jill. Just saying. It's also a shame that Grace doesn't get to do anything during the final boss. Victor was the one to kidnap her after all. She doesn't even find a rocket launcher to deliver the finishing blow. Anything would have been cool, but complaints aside, this final phase is still pretty cool. I wasn't expecting to be able to parry the big ass tentacles with my hatchet, so color me surprised, I guess. The game ends when Leon puts a stop to the Umbrella Corporation's wrongdoings, 100% for real this time. I swear this time we're done with Umbrella, guys. And there's a cute moment between the two where they believe there's no way of escaping, so they kind of just accept their fate.
There's no way out this thing.
Well, I'm not gonna leave your side. I'm gonna sit right here with you.
They get rescued by the BSAA, Grace laments the loss of Emily, but Leon says,
Didn't hit any of her vitals. She could still be alive.
which I don't buy, but at this point I don't care. This narrative is a mess. Once everything is wrapped up, Grace adopts Emily, Leon gets to stay alive so Capcom can keep milking him for cash, and all is well. Wow, I wasn't expecting this video to get so vocal. That's what happens when you're excited for a game to release from day one. I want to clarify again that I still like the game. Grace's half of the game was peak. If I played as her for 10 hours, it probably would be better than Resident Evil 2 Remake. I really hope they bring her back in the future because she has potential to evolve further as a protagonist. It's unfortunate the game came out the way it did. It feels like two separate games that don't really complement each other once the switch happens, and I feel like it didn't have a strong enough vision to go in. I heard development of this game was riddled with problems, with plans to potentially make it co-op or open world, and We definitely dodged a bullet there, but even so, some of this can be found in the final game in addition to a not very well thought out structure or plot. I do think this game is better than Resident Evil 8, but one thing that game had over 9 is that it was more confident in itself. I would go on, but I think by this point I made myself perfectly clear. This game would benefit by a couple rewrites, but for what it is, I can't deny it's still great. I don't do number scores, but I'm feeling either a 7 or 8 out of 10. Definitely better than 8, but not as good as 7 or the remakes. I can only hope the next game doesn't fall prey to this game's flaws, but who knows. I'm probably still gonna be here no matter what, but I can only hope. Anyway, with that said, I hope you enjoyed me channeling my inner AVGN. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow my other socials, all of that stuff. Special thanks to Sky, Roxy J, Critton10, and Brandon Smith for being $10 supporters. It means a lot. You know, Grace kind of reminds me of myself, with her and I both being scared all the time and having similar hairstyles. But that begs the question, do you think Grace has a penis?